Yes, I'm the one who won the lottery last week. $180 million. I couldn't be luckier, right? Wrong. They don't tell you what happens after the confetti. They don't tell you what it actually costs. And I'm not talking about taxes. You think money solves problems? Sure, but it also creates ones you didn't know existed. Ones you can't fix, no matter how many zeros are in your account. This is the story of how I got everything I ever wanted, and why I wish I never bought that ticket. At the time, I thought money would fix everything. I had no idea how wrong I was. Let me take you back. Before the money. Before everything went sideways. I was 26, working at a warehouse 5 nights a week, loading boxes onto trucks for a company that didn't bother learning my name. My apartment had 1 bedroom, a kitchen that was also the living room, and a bathroom door that didn't fully close. Luxury. I had a girlfriend though, Sophia. We'd been together 3 years. She was the kind of person who'd split a gas station sandwich with you and make it feel like a date. We argued about money constantly. Not because we were greedy, but because there was never enough. Whose turn to pay the electric bill? Whether we could afford to eat out this weekend. The kind of arguments that feel massive when you're living them, but looking back, we're just 2 people trying to survive together. And I had my boys, Diego and Marcus. Known them since high school. Friday nights, we'd sit in Diego's garage, drink cheap beer, talk about everything we were going to do one day. Then one Tuesday, I stopped at a gas station and bought a lottery ticket. No reason, no lucky feeling. I just had $2 in change, and the cashier looked bored. I shoved the ticket in my glove box and forgot about it for 4 days. Thursday night, standing in my kitchen, eating cereal because payday wasn't until Friday. I remembered the ticket, scanned it with my phone, looked at the numbers, looked again, put the phone down, picked it back up, looked a third time. $180 million. I didn't scream. I just stood there with milk dripping off my spoon onto the floor, thinking, this has to be a mistake. It wasn't. That's when things started changing. The first month was everything you'd imagine. Actually, it was better than anything you could imagine, because I'd spent my entire life imagining it. I quit my job. Not professionally. I just stopped showing up. And when my manager called, I told him I was busy being retired at 26. He thought I was on drugs. Fair assumption, honestly. I paid off my mom's house, in full, walked into the bank with a cashier's check, and the look on her face when I handed it to her, that's the single greatest moment of my life. Nothing that came after ever touched it. Remember that. I bought a car I'd been dreaming about since I was 14. I bought Sophia a necklace that cost more than our rent used to be for an entire year. I took Diego and Marcus on a trip, first-class flights, hotel suites, the whole thing. Marcus cried at the airport. Grown man, tears rolling down his face, saying, "Bro, we really made it." And I believed him. Everything felt like a movie montage. New clothes, restaurants where the menu doesn't have prices, a house. Not an apartment, a house. With a backyard, a garage, rooms I didn't even have furniture for yet. I tipped a waiter $300 once because I liked the way he said, "Excellent choice." I was drunk on it. The money, the freedom, the looks on people's faces. For about 6 weeks, I was the happiest human being on the planet. But here's the thing about happiness that arrives all at once. It doesn't trickle in and build. It floods. And floods always recede. What they leave behind is the part nobody talks about. It started small. So small, I almost didn't notice. Diego needed help with rent one month. No problem. Marcus needed a loan for a car. Sure, I got you. My cousin called. Hadn't spoken to him in maybe 3 years. Suddenly, he's got a business idea and just needs $40,000 to get it off the ground. I said no. He called me selfish. At Thanksgiving, in front of the whole family. That was the first time the money made me the villain. Then it kept happening. Friends of friends started reaching out. People I went to middle school with. A guy I played basketball with once in a park. Everyone had a story. Everyone had a need. And every single one of them ended with a number. I started keeping track. Not on purpose. It just happened. My brain turned into a ledger. Every dinner, every drink, every "bro, I forgot my wallet." I was logging it. And I hated myself for it. I didn't used to be this person. I used to split everything without thinking. But when you're the one with money, Splitting stops being an option. You're expected to cover it. Every time. And if you don't, you're the bad guy. The rich friend who's suddenly different. Diego stopped calling as much. I figured he was busy. Then I saw him posting, out with people I didn't know, doing the same stuff we used to do. I wasn't invited. I realized later it wasn't that he didn't want me there. He just didn't want to feel like he owed me something for showing up. And Sophia. She didn't change the way I expected. She didn't start spending or demanding things. She actually got quieter. She'd look at me sometimes with this expression I couldn't read, like she was trying to find someone she recognized. We stopped arguing about bills because there were no bills to argue about. But we also stopped talking about the future because the future used to be something we were building together. Now, it was just something I could buy, and that took the meaning out of everything. One night, she said something I'll never forget. She said, "I miss when we had to figure things out." I didn't understand it then. I do now. The cracks weren't dramatic. Nobody threw a glass. Nobody screamed. Everything just slowly, quietly shifted. Like furniture getting moved an inch at a time, until one day you walk into a room and nothing is where it used to be. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I tried to fix it with more money. I gave my cousin the $40,000. I bought Diego a watch he didn't ask for. I planned another trip. Bigger this time. More people, more everything. I threw cash at every crack in every relationship, like I was patching drywall. And for a minute, it felt like it worked. People smiled again. People answered the phone. But it didn't work. It just raised the floor. Now $40,000 was the baseline. Now first class was expected. Now if I didn't offer, I was holding back. The money didn't fix anything. It just made the expectations permanent. That's when I started disappearing into myself. I stopped going out, started staying in the house. This massive house with rooms I still hadn't furnished. I'd order food to the door and eat alone in the kitchen. Started drinking more. Not falling down drunk, just that slow, steady kind where you have 2 glasses of whiskey every night, and then one night you realize it's been 4 glasses for the last 2 weeks, and you can't remember when it changed. I started buying things, just to feel something. A watch I never wore, a sound system for a room I never sat in. I bought a boat. I don't even like boats. But for about 15 minutes after I signed the paperwork, I felt a little pulse of something. Excitement, maybe. Or just distraction. Then it faded, and I was right back where I started. Except now, I also had a boat. I flew to Miami once. Alone. Stayed in a penthouse suite with a view of the ocean. Sat on the balcony for 2 hours staring at the water. Took one photo I never posted. Ordered room service I barely touched, and flew home the next morning. $7,000 for a view I could have seen on YouTube. But that's what money does to you when you're empty. It convinces you that the next purchase, the next trip, the next thing will be the one that fills the hole. It never is. But you keep swiping the card because stopping means sitting with the silence. And the silence is where the truth lives. Sophia left on a Sunday. She didn't yell. She didn't take anything. She sat on the edge of the bed and told me she didn't recognize me anymore. She said I used to be the guy who made nothing feel like enough. And now, I was the guy who made everything feel like nothing. That destroyed me. Because if she'd left for the money, if she'd turned greedy and I caught her, I could have been angry. Anger is easy. But she left because I changed. She left because the guy she fell in love with disappeared somewhere between the first check and the 5th shopping spree. And she was right. I tried to go back. Visited Diego, sat in his garage like old times. But it wasn't old times. He was careful with his words. Marcus made a joke about "must be nice" and then apologized immediately, which was worse than the joke. I didn't belong there anymore. And I didn't belong in the big house either. The worst part wasn't that things changed. The worst part was that everyone pretended they didn't. Every conversation had this invisible wall in it now. People chose their words differently around me, laughed a little too hard at my jokes, agreed with me a little too fast. Nobody pushed back anymore. Nobody told me I was being an idiot the way they used to. And I realized, money doesn't just change how people treat you, it changes how they perform around you. I wasn't in real relationships anymore. I was watching people audition. I was nowhere. Rich and nowhere. One night, And I'm not proud of this. I sat in my living room at 3 in the morning and Googled, "Can you give back lottery winnings?" I clicked through 4 articles before I realized how insane that was. But was it? Because right then, sitting on a couch that cost more than my old car, I would have traded every penny to be back in that cramped apartment with Sophia arguing about the electric bill. Just as I thought things couldn't get worse, my mom called. Not her usual call, not the Sunday check-in where she asks if I'm eating enough. This was different. Her voice was shaking. People had found out she was the lottery winner's mother. Strangers were showing up at her house, ringing the doorbell at odd hours, leaving notes. Someone followed her at the grocery store. She changed her number twice, and they still found it. She said one sentence that broke me in half. She said, "I was safer when you were broke." I sat on the floor after that call. Didn't move for an hour. The money was supposed to protect her. It was supposed to make her life easier. And instead, I painted a target on the one person who never once asked me for a single dollar. The one person who loved me exactly the same before and after the numbers hit. I hired security, moved her somewhere new, set everything up so she'd be comfortable and safe. But the damage was already there. She was afraid, not of the strangers, of what my life had become, of what the money had turned everything into. I started driving past my old apartment sometimes, not to stop, just to see it. The cracked parking lot, the stairwell with the busted light, the window that used to be mine. Someone else lives there now, probably arguing about the electric bill, probably complaining about the bathroom door. And I sat in my car, a car that costs more than that entire building's rent for a year. And I envied them. I envied someone living my old, broke, cramped, nothing special life. That's when you know the money won. And that's when I finally understood. I didn't lose the money. I never lost the money. The money is still there, sitting in accounts, piling up interest, doing what money does. What I lost was everything the money was supposed to improve. The job I hated? It gave me a reason to wake up. The apartment I complained about? It made a home-cooked meal feel like a reward. The friends I thought would be there forever? They were, until I gave them a reason to feel small around me. And Sophia, the woman who loved me when I had nothing. She was the only proof I ever needed that I was enough. And I let the money convince me I wasn't. They say money can't buy happiness. That's not true. Money can buy plenty. It buys comfort. It buys freedom. It buys silence. But it also buys distance. Distance from the people who mattered. Distance from the person you used to be. And the worst part? There's no receipt for that. No return policy. No customer service line to call and say, "I made a mistake. Please put it back the way it was." So yeah, I'm the guy who won the lottery. $180 million. And I'd give every single cent back for one more Thursday night in that kitchen, eating cereal, not knowing what was coming. But let me ask you this. If you won tomorrow, would you tell anyone? Or would you keep it a secret and pray your life stays exactly the same? Drop it in the comments. And if this story hit different, do me a favor. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.